Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 106 of 2025. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner of the NFL. If you like sport, the Odds Breakers benefit from our premium plays. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. Pick any. Winning cappers get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com, if nothing else. Please visit the Odds Breakers to become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. Another weekend in the books. Not a lot of college football to talk about. Well, I guess not for recap anyway. Just the Army-Navy game went very well because we were on the under, and the under strikes again. What is it, like 17 in the last 19 went under, something like that. And the other two was an overtime and just a bad number if you were going to bet the over, the under on it when it got down to 28 that year. But Army-Navy always delivers, and the reason that is these teams just know each other so well, and when the game means more, usually defenses show up a little bit, offenses tighten up. They don't want to turn the ball over. They don't take chances. That's just how it is. Washington destroys Boise State. I'm glad I held off on the premium play because it went down to 9.5 instead of up to 10.5. Hit 10.5, I was going to give it out, and then I would have lost. This Washington Huskies team is a motivated team, and I feel like next year is going to be another year that I get sucked into betting on them. I'm sure that's going to happen to me. But, Damon Williams probably will be one of the Heisman favorites, and you probably got to get him early because it's just going to go one direction, in my opinion. I think Damon Williams on a year two, it sounds like they're probably going to be returning a lot of good guys, and the fact that Boston played and Coleman played in this bowl game really says a hell of a lot about this team and how they're led and just the great coaching with Jed Fish. So I know there's rumors about him going to Michigan, and I'm not counting that out either. But big props to them. Obviously, if you like FCS football, there's a ton of action going on all weekend in that. I know our partner, Step on a Duck, certainly loves that. Good old Josh, big into FCS football, as well as FBS, of course. But that's never the focus of this podcast. We focus on FBS and NFL. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about an article I put out on Saturday. And we have a couple games coming up before Thursday because Wednesday's show will cover everything after Thursday. But as you know, I have a side and total lean play, little breakdown that I put out on every single bowl game, just like we have over the past, 5 to 7 years minimum. We've been doing this for a very long time. I'm excited to talk a little bit about college football after we talk some NFL. Obviously, injury bug hit the NFL really bad, and now, of course, you think about them adding an 18th game. A lot of people said, they would have got injured anyway because we're not even at week 16. They haven't played 16 games yet. Well, it's different because if there's only a 16-game schedule or a 14-game schedule, teams would have clinched before, and these players wouldn't have necessarily felt like they have to fight and strive, and possibly they'd even be resting, for the playoffs. And I hate to say this, but a lot of sports have way too many regular season games just because of the TV money and the money it brings it in. But the truth is, to find out which team is the best, you do not need that many regular season games, especially in a rough sport like football. I love football. I wish it can go on forever, but let's be real. These players are hurting themselves. These stars are going out. One of the biggest defensive stars in Micah Parsons and obviously Patrick Mahomes. Say whatever you want about the Chiefs. If you hate the Chiefs, it don't matter. Patrick Mahomes was a great leader. It seems like a really great guy, very likable, and it sucks to see this happen to him. Now, I can't stand the media coverage of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. That's what bugs me. And obviously some of the let's just say some of the outcomes that kind of seem to go their way over the past 2 years. But hey, I never want to see an injury like this. And it really bummed me out. And even as a Bears fan, I don't want to see Mike Parsons get injured. It's not even because that's going to be their excuse. It's going to be because I hate to see that. I hate to see a star like that get hurt. Somebody who cares. He busted his ass every single play. I watched him play. He busted his ass. And it sucks to lose a guy like that. Don't get me wrong, the Bears will have plenty of injuries, and they already had plenty of injuries all year long. Edmonds has been out now on IR. It happens, but I'm not comparing that to Micah Parsons because this man was the best player on their defense, and maybe next to Myles Garrett this year, the best player in NFL football, at least from a defensive perspective, right? I mean, really big loss for the Packers, but I think they'll get through. They'll get into the playoffs still. I just that extra punch is what they don't have when they're facing teams like, well, maybe the Lions, maybe even the Bears, Rams, Seahawks, those types of NFC teams. And hey, don't forget about the Niners. The Niners are kind of living again and playing some very motivated football. So we're going to be really interesting here in the playoff race. And I think you need at least 11 wins to get a wild card. And God, if the Bears beat the Packers and the Packers win out and the Bears lose against the Niners and Detroit wins out, San Fran finishes 11 and 7. Do the Bears get missed on the wild card because that one tie for the Packers? That's an interesting question. I got to crunch the math on that. But it was a very favorite-y week of football. I wish I would have listened to myself. I always say week 14 and on is for favorites, and we're at week 15, and I lost on dogs like Arizona. Lost on dogs. And I mean big favorites. I don't mean small favorites usually. I lost on the Bengals. Once they hit 3, I smashed the Bengals, and that didn't go through. At least our refuse to lose teaser is starting to not lose. I mean, we're at 7-8 now. God forbid we can get to 10-8 by the end of the season. That'd be amazing. But I'm just real happy that hit, and a few other small ones. But here we are, NFL coming up, and a hell of a lot of college football to talk about. The good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend. Good. Arizona basketball, the U of A. Holy shit. Just go to Alabama and just smoke them like that. Double-digit, destroy them. Man, them in Michigan look so good this year. It's just funny to see teams like Duke in North Carolina, Kentucky just look completely inferior to these guys. Even Gonzaga when they played Michigan. My God. These teams they're unbettable, really. I mean, at these freaking prices, but I mean, to me, it's 2 and maybe Iowa State if they can, look good. They didn't look great this weekend against Iowa. They only beat Iowa by a few points, but man, I mean, this is one hell of an Arizona team, and now they're second favorite at 10-1. While Michigan is 4.75-1. I mean, why bother? Why bother betting that now? You can get Michigan at 4-1 by the start of the tournament if they win out. Well, maybe 2-1 if they win out, but you expect them to lose 1 or 2. But man, injuries can happen. There is just absolutely you should not be taking those prices. But what a bunch of great teams! Obviously, the Washington Huskies. I already talked about that. Them destroying Boise State in their bowl game. Wiping out the question of anybody considering going to Boise State over this program, right? Out in the Pacific Northwest. The Army-Navy going under like it should, so that was good. Had a really good Saturday, 3-1 college basketball. Big favorites has been good, like I mentioned, minus Seattle. And I guess San Fran, but it depends when you got San Fran. They won by 13. There was 12.5s earlier in the week, so that's on you if you missed that. Phillip Rivers, I mean, he didn't win, but dude, they were winning, and their defense screwed it for them. So obviously giving up the field goal to Myers, who makes my good too. It was kind of a battle of field goal kickers the whole game, but you can kind of see what the problem is with Seattle when it comes to the big games. The Chiefs are out of the playoffs. That's good too. Not the circumstances of who got hurt, but they're losing when he got hurt. They're going out of the playoffs this year. The Chiefs are certainly not the Chiefs that we remember, and now I don't have to hear any more about them. The bad. The Buccaneers choked 28-14 on Thursday Night Football. Oh my God, what a freaking choke. There was all kinds of chokes this week too. All kinds of crazy freaking chokes. NC State's, that wasn't a choke. That was the refs completely screwing them. Guy perfectly plays, jumps straight up with his arms in the air. Kansas just flutters into the guy, just aimlessly jumping at the rim, trying to possible shot, gets a foul. If you when that happens and it's for the win, or it ended up being the win because they hit their free throws and NC State didn't hit another shot, it feels like a 4th and 17 bad pass interference call if I were to compare it to something. Seriously, come on, man. Patriots choke. That was bad. I got to tell you, the refs were first favoring the Patriots, and then they started favoring the Bills. It was the weirdest thing. It was Hussey, and he's just an awful official. Romo Dunze, I had him in the fantasy playoffs, and I think I'm going to win. I'm up by like 40 points, but he's got Malik Washington left. I could lose, but I'm very, very disappointed that we got the news like after the game started. He hurt his foot in practice, re-injured it. That is bad. It's like he was slated to play, and it's like I wish we would have known. But, I might get by. I don't know. I'm very disappointed in that. The NFC South. What a garbage division. This kind of feels a lot like, if you want to compare it to the college football, the ACC, on how they're, had to get a team in. Of course, Miami is deserving. But if it had to have been Virginia, that would have been a massive problem. And also the group of 5. It's like the NFC South is so freaking bad. None of these damn teams deserve to make the playoffs. And one's going to steal a spot from San Fran, Detroit, Green Bay, or the Bears. They're going to steal a spot from them. The Cowboys losing to the Vikings. What the fuck? What the hell is going on? They're massively outcoached by Kevin O'Connell, but also Kevin O'Connell, where the hell has this freaking been all year? Now J.J. McCarthy looks somewhat competent. He's gaining confidence. Confidence is such a huge thing in sports. It's the number one thing. Man. Now for the ugly. The Panthers choke and the refs assist. This was utterly pathetic. And it was so ugly. You got to give some blame to the Panthers for playing prevent and, not being aggressive when they were winning. There's some blame there. But when the Saints actually plan a play to draw a flag by the quarterback flopping down at the last split second, they actually planned that play. Somebody mentioned it in the announcement, and also you've seen it on Twitter. That was planned. Then the defense was planned to go throw their hands up, and the refs freaking fell for it like a dog with a turkey on the fucking table. It's just so bad that it just blows your mind that teams can just plan to get a flag, because if they didn't, the clock was going to run out. They literally planned that play to draw a stupid roughing call. It's such a bad NFL right now. The Bengals at home. 0 freaking points, Burrow. 0 points. Something was wrong with him, man. Was he sick? Was his mind off? You literally blew your chances at the playoffs that game. You blew it completely. 0 points at home against a team that you've handled really well in the past. What the F was that? And it's not even, the Ravens didn't even look that good. Burrow looked terrible, and so did the defense of the Bengals, man. Jeez. How about the Raiders? 75 total yards against the Eagles. 75 total yards.
Fucking bullshit!
Might as well throw the Cardinals in there. And I was stupid enough to bet them. Yeah, it's just that, like I said, after week 14, look at big favorites. Obviously, Micah Parsons toward ACL was one of the ugliest things. And same with Pat Mahomes, being that Pat Mahomes is the star of the league. That is definitely the ugliest thing that happened in the NFL for the entire weekend.
That's right. $2,000.
Yeah, $2,000.
All right, my friends, now it's time for a little NFL Week 15 misleading final scores. Starting with the Giants, but their yards against the Commanders were due to preventing. They're getting their ass kicked, so that is not a misleading final score. Patriots outgained the Bills, 385 to 349. Yet lost 35 to 31. A 1-0 turnover ratio. Poor red zone defense crushed Dave Portnoy in his way too early rants. Oh my God, has he been really looking like a total bonehead over the past few weeks? The Ravens outgained the Bengals 317 to 298. It lost 24 to 0. A 2-1 turnover ratio and terrible red zone offense and defense crushed Joe Burrow. The Seahawks outgained the Colts 314 to 215. Yet only won 18 to 16. And kiss goodbye my minus 10 line value that closed at what, 14? They won the turnover battle 1-0, but poor red zone and special teams got the quacks, and the Cowboys outgained the Vikings 423 to 327, yet lost 34 to 26. They won the turnover battle 1-0, yet bad special teams and red zone got them boys. Probably should include the Bears in the good, but I mean, they beat the Browns. Who cares? But the fact that they kind of are now playing like a great team, not playing bad teams close, it shows a big step for the Bears. NFL Week 16 betting spots, letdown spots. The Chargers could be soft against the Cowboys after beating rival Chiefs. The Saints could be soft hosting the Jets after the refs gave them the Panthers win. The Ravens might be too content after beating a poor Bengals team. The Bills could soften up at the Browns after beating the Patriots. And the Vikings could be overconfident at the Giants after the big Cowboys win. Get up spots. The Bengals have very little hope, but they might need to beat the Dolphins here. The Cowboys need to beat the Chargers to keep their hopes alive, but it's 1%. They need the Eagles to lose out, and they need to win out. And the crazy thing is that the Eagles are playing on Saturday, and if they win, the Cowboys are toast anyway, so that could be a huge letdown for them. You don't know what you're going to get. It's hard to predict that. I think they'll try to win anyway, but you got to be careful with this Cowboys team now. The Lions need a big win hosting the Steelers. They just do. They need a big win, and they need to stay within the race here. Look ahead spots. The Texans could look past the Raiders to the Chargers because the Texans just had a very easy game. They have the Raiders up, and then they have the Chargers on deck. The short week, the Steelers after Monday night at the Lions. And the Dolphins after Monday night hosting the Bengals. Long week, the Buccaneers after Thursday at the Panthers. The Falcons after Thursday night football at the Cardinals. So those are your long weeks. Now it's time for little college football bowl games, being that we have some games on December 16th and December 17th. I want to go over those. And Tuesday you have the game with Troy versus Jacksonville State at the Salute to Veterans Bowl. Jacksonville State's plus 2.5. The total is 46.5. And I remember mentioning last week Troy's motivation should be medium low and Jacksonville State's still medium high. Both teams are less than 125 miles away, so no real home field advantage. Now, Troy has a couple people in the transfer portal. First of all, Troy's got an opt-out in cornerback Kaleno Levine and two in the transfer portal, starting running back Tay Meadows, defensive end DJ Jackson, who had 350 snaps. And then Jacksonville State has a transfer in offense tackle Reggie Jackson. Then a couple of their injuries, left guard Adrian Gum, cornerback Tyron Taylor, and defensive tackle Juwan Campbell, who last played in Week 11, courtesy of Stuckey in his great article over there at the Action Network. So, net yards per play, Jacksonville is actually a lot more than Troy, plus 1.21. Basic stats, Troy's offense has been terrible at 4.23 yards per play. That ranks 127th in the league. That is piss poor, in my opinion. And their yards per rush, 2.79. This offense is terrible on Troy's, and Jacksonville's actually decent, ranking 41st in yards per play and 13th in yards per rush. They're a great running team, not so much of a passing team. The key stats, despite the large disparity in strength of schedule, with Troy ranking 93rd and Jacksonville State ranking 142nd, the Gamecocks run the ball well and rank 5th in rush attempts, while Troy struggles to defend the run, ranking 81st in defensive rush EPA. Verdict: this line's definitely off. Jacksonville State is the much better offense. Should be motivated here. I'm playing Jacksonville State here. Jacksonville State plus 2.5 for 2 stars.
Get busy living or get busy dying. That's goddamn right.
All right, we move on to Wednesday, December 17th, Old Dominion versus South Florida. South Florida minus 3.5, total 53.5 at the Staff DNA Cure Bowl, Camping World Stadium, Orlando, Florida. So, I think that Old Dominion's the more motivated team. They get a chance to beat American Athletic Conference team, which is a higher conference considering. Certainly considering what the committee did. South Florida's motivation is low. They lost their shot at the playoffs, and they lost their coach to Auburn. South Florida's campus is only 91 miles away, so I do give them a few points for home field advantage. But this one keeps going down and down and down. I wrote this at minus 3.5. This is now minus 2.5, actually, South Florida, total 53.5. There is more opt-outs in this game. Obviously, for Old Dominion, you lost Colton Joseph, your starting quarterback, and you got an injury in cornerback, Batoros Alessandro, which we don't know if he's playing or not. Looks like the quarterback's going to be a freshman, Quinn Heinkel. But, USF, South Florida, Byram Brown, the quarterback, their lifeblood of this team, will not play in the bowl game and is going to be like an assistant Moore. Coach Gaston Moore will start, and they have some injuries. Safety Tevin Ward missed final 2 games. Cornerback James Chenault last played in Week 11. Defensive end Denard Flowers missed the finale. Well, Christian Neptune, a wide receiver, last played in Week 12. As you know, Alex Golish, the coach, is going to Auburn, along with offense coordinator Joel Gordon. They will not be with the team, which is huge. Kevin Patrick's going to serve as the interim here in this game. So, moving on to the basic stats, they're both 2.0 net yards per play, just powerhouses. These two teams really were. Now, when South Florida stepped into competition, they won. When Old Dominion finally did, they didn't. But both have great offenses, 13th and 5th in net yards per play and or yards per play on offense. Now, Old Dominion has a better looking defense, but that was probably because they're in the easier block over at Sun Belt. So here's the thing. Both quarterbacks out. This hurts South Florida on a larger scale, but this line is really, really adjusted now. Byron Brown, like I said, heart and soul of this team. Each team is just so equal in many aspects of this game, minus the strength of schedule. I really, if you got this article, you got the 3.5. But, I mean, now that I'm seeing this, I'm just going to lean to the over, even though I'm just not sure about playing it with these backup quarterbacks. And I probably lean to South Florida now a bit. This is starting to get to buyback territory, especially for premium subscribers that got Old Dominion plus 7.5. Because when I did play this, it was Old Dominion plus 7.5. So I wish I can give you more, but I'm going to give you a lean to the over. But this line is adjusted too much. This is why you got to get on top of these things early if you haven't done it by now. Both teams actually play very fast. Monarchs ranking 21st in pace. USF ranking 2nd in pace. So you're just kind of thinking, can the quarterbacks whip up enough offense to score in these games? I think maybe they can. 68 Ventures Bowl, Louisiana versus Delaware. Delaware plus 3, total 59.5. This is still at 3. Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. Louisiana's motivation's medium-low, probably just happy to make a bowl game. And Delaware's definitely going to be high. It's their first bowl game in their first year of FBS football. It's a semi-home game for Louisiana, though, 250 miles away, but just 0.5, because I think Delaware's going to have some travel and fans for this. 0.5 for home field advantage for Louisiana. That's it. Louisiana injuries, Free safety, Tyree Skipper last played in Week 11. Center Cooper Fordham missed finale. Delaware's injuries, running back Joe Silver, he returned in the finale. Only played 23 snaps, though, so he could be out. Our offensive guard, Patrick Shupp. Wide receiver, Ja'Cory Kelly. Tight end, Connor Whithoft. And linebacker, Dylan Trainer. Most of these guys played late into the season. We just don't know who is going to be missing in this game. Moving on, net yards per play, Louisiana barely edges them out at 0.19. Both these teams, 5.32 yards per play for Louisiana, a little bit better for Delaware at 5.64. Louisiana is a much better running team. The much better passing team is Delaware, ranking 69th in QBR. Louisiana's offense is terrible at QBR, 129th in QBR. Delaware ranks 51st in offensive success rate, while Louisiana ranks 114th. Both defenses rank 88th and 89th in opponent EPA. Delaware has the pass advantage against a weak D, though. Louisiana has the rushing advantage over a weak D, but if you know it's coming, you stack the box and let that 129th QBR quarterback mess some stuff up. It's just amazing how Conference USA is getting so disrespected in these bowl games. I know they're the worst conference, but it's not by that much with these kids. Louisiana's best year this win is probably against Texas State, and that's before Texas State stopped choking. I think they play a close game. Maybe Louisiana wins, but you got to take the 3 here with Delaware. I like Delaware plus the 3 for 2 stars. So there you have it. There's my bowl breakdowns for this week, and you got 2 plays out of it, and hopefully they hit. As of right now, let's bring on our wonderful guest, D Nasty, to talk a little fantasy football. All right, time for a little fantasy football. Our guy D Nasty is back. Dave, I have some bad news for you. The Bears are back in first place.
That's not the bad news I was thinking about, but that's only going to last for a week anyway. But the bad news is the Micah Parsons injury. Torn ACL, out for the year. Our defensive stud is gone.
I don't take pride in that kind of crap. I feel for Micah Parsons and stuff, and I'd rather have teams at full strength, including the Bears. The Bears have lost a few guys to injury themselves this year, and it's just been on and off. Kyler Gordon's done for the year now. It's just the way the NFL is, man. It's a landscape, but a guy as impactful as Micah Parsons, as fun as what he was to watch. I mean, you're watching the Packers defense, you watch him every play. Your eyes go on him first, right? I mean, that's just how he was. He was just that good, and he'll be back. I'm thinking he probably missed his training camp, maybe preseason. I think chance to start the year, maybe after week 4, but he'll be back when it's important. When it comes to impact players, Dave, I'm starting to build the philosophy even more and more is like, why rush him back? I mean, if you can make a playoff run without him and then bring him on at the end, it's even more important, and he'll be fresh.
Yeah, even for that stretch run, like mid-season and end of season, that's when you really need him. You don't need him at the beginning of the year, like you said. You can right the ship for a couple weeks at the beginning of the year. If that's what you do. Get them healthy.
Absolutely. And speaking of injuries, Dave, it was a freaking Armageddon again this week. Obviously, the star of the NFL, the poster boy, Pat Mahomes, tore his ACL 5 minutes before Micah Parsons did. I was watching it on Red Zone, and I was like, I can't believe this. I said, that didn't look. At first, I thought it was Achilles for him, but now it was ACL. And you can walk from ACLs, so, that's the thing. And, both of them really walked off the field. It was a limp still, but you can tell by their face and the way their knee bent and the way it looked that there was some sort of damage there, and both happened to be ACLs.
Yeah, and and the non-contact injuries like that too for both of them. Actually, Mahomes really didn't get hit. That really, it was like after he got hit, he kind of like pushed on his leg and then it like crumbled. Like the non-contact injuries are the worst because something's bad if they. As soon as their knee buckles and you hear it pop or you see it in their knee buckle like that.
When it's a non-contact, it does worry you more. It worries you more than a guy getting freaking targeted and smashed, right? It's like a non-contact injury, it's bad. It's like, God dang. Exactly. It's so weird how the NFL's like that. What a boring game. Looks like the Steelers just scored another touchdown, though. Up 14-3. Yeah, this game started out slow. Here's another injury, Romo Dunze, and I was really mad because our dynasty league, Dave, I thought that I might lose now because I had him in, and that was a late scratch. The news came out after the game started, which means it happened in warmups, but you got to get that news out there, Bears. That sucked, and I was very bummed, but it looks like I'm going to win anyway. He needs like 40 points from Malik Washington, so. Thank God I got through that. Yep. Go ahead.
Should we get into the injuries then, the long list?
Yeah, Bam Knight. Bam Knight for the Cardinals hurt his ankle, was ruled out, and he's probably done too. Cardinals are so shot. Luther Burton from the Bears had an ankle injury too. We don't know if he's going to come back. We don't know if Rome's going to come back, but, they need a couple key guys for the Packers. And then you want to talk about Christian Watson. He hurts his chest. I thought it was his shoulder that snapped at first, Dave, but it looks like it was his chest.
Yeah, they were saying something about rib during the game, too. So I'm not really it's still not clear on really what's wrong with him, actually. I think it might be a rib or a lung, maybe. Yeah, so that's kind of scary, though, because like TJ Watt had the lung thing. He had to get his collapsed lung fixed. So that's scary. So hopefully it's nothing major. Hopefully he'll be able to be back in a couple weeks. But yeah, it did not look good.
Watts was done based on a procedure, though, and this was just a hit to the ground. So I doubt you collapse a lung like that, but crazier things have happened. Woody Marks hurt his ankle. I guess he can probably play next week, but he did hurt his ankle, so monitor that all week. Tyler Lockett hurt his wrist. Not that his team was doing anything. It's so funny. The Raiders are so bad, Dave. I don't even know if I have to go over their injuries. This is the worst Raiders team I've ever seen in my life.
We covered the buys when we did that, when they had the bye. There's not many players that you're starting.
Here's another weird one. Devin Neal came out with a hammy, and they still won that game with the crazy baiting the refs and all that. But it was a big hit to Neal. He was having a pretty good game against the Panthers when he went out, so he was kind of a sleeper-ish player last week. Van Jefferson hurt his back against the Niners. That was a hell of a catch he hurt his back on, though. Noah Brown hurt his ribs and left the game against the Giants. Ricky Pearsall had a knee injury. Dave, what else am I missing?
Looks like R.J. Harvey with the ribs, Javonte Williams with a shoulder injury. You got Bam Knight, but Basal Tootin, finger injury. He's actually had surgery. He'll be out a couple weeks. So ETN's even going to be more important going forward after his huge week this last week. So Samarji Perine, ankle injury. Devontae Adams, hamstring injury. He may not play this week. So that's huge, especially in the fantasy playoffs. So Devontae Adams is not likely to play this week probably. They say he's weak to week.
Forgot about him. Thank you. Forgot about him. That's a big one.
So that's a major one. Dunze, like you said, Burden with the ankle. Ricky Purcell. Xavier Worthy with the concussion. Devon Valley, who was actually having a last couple weeks, is doing pretty well. Then Noah Brown, like you said, with the ribs, and Noah Fant with the ankle.
Yep. Noah Fant with the ankle. Yep. Just a lot of problems this week and some nasty ones. Well, Dave, waiver wire, why don't we clear up some of those injuries with some waivers?
All right. Well, Gardner Minshew is going to be the top one for the Kansas City Chiefs. He has good weapons all around him, so you could put up some nice fantasy numbers in the next couple weeks here. They're out of the playoffs already anyways, but still, for fantasy playoffs, you're looking for people to put up points for you. And Minshew could. He's filled in. He's filled in pretty well. So he's definitely the top guy this week. Michael Carter, he actually filled in pretty well for Bam Knight after he went out. For the Watson injury, we got Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed actually looked pretty good, too, even when Watson was in there. And Golden, too. I'll throw Golden in there, too. Golden actually had some big catches in the game last week, and he had some nice catches. So he actually showed good signs of life this last game, too, for fantasy purposes. Ja'Cory, Krosky, Moret, with Rodriguez out. Rodriguez still might not play this week, too. That's one of the injuries we forgot to mention. But he went off, actually, with Rodriguez out, and he got a lot of carries, actually. So he had a touchdown this past week as well. So Audric Estimine for the Saints, if Neal is out again. Jawar Jordan for the Texans for the Marks injury. Jaleel McLaughlin for the Harvey injury. Plus, Harvey actually fumbled at the beginning of that game, too. So just keep an eye on that, too, because they did bench him for a series after he fumbled. So not only is he injured, but he fumbled, too. So they keep an eye on that. Colson Loveland looked good this past week. Another couple catches. Komet, though, continues to take targets away from him, though. So, but Schultz, actually, Dalton Schultz had a huge game. I had him in a couple of my leagues. Yeah, helped me win a couple leagues this last week. So That was pretty awesome. Colby Parkinson, 2 TDs this past week as well, and quite a few targets. And then JJ McCarthy, another 3 touchdown week. A couple weeks in a row, he's strung together some nice games now. So I think he almost could be trusted this week if you do need a quarterback. So you can take a look at him. And then Bryce Young, they're playing Tampa Bay actually this week, only 18% rostered. Tyler Shough against the Jets. That's a good matchup for him. So you can take a look at those 2 guys. Running backs, like I said, maybe Amari DeMarcado, but I think Carter looked like he got most of the carries this last game after he went out. So that's the guy I'd be taking a look at.
All right, Amari DeMarcado. He's not dropping the ball, it is. Yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson should be. Oh, actually, that's my next one. Chimere DK, I'm going to throw him on there again, Dave. I think he's going to be huge. Actually, Olamide Zacchaeus from the Bears. If both Rome Odunze and Luther Burton's out, he's going to be massive this week. Even if one of them's out, he'll be big. Tight end Colby Parkinson, Dave. He had 2 touchdowns for me, and one of them was actually real. One of them was a real one. I don't know if you saw the refs give him the other one. That was a joke, but I'll take it as a fantasy player. But that was horrible. He was like a yard and a half short. I
saw that.
They reviewed it and gave it to him. Oh my God! Little kids correcting their homework. Dalton Schultz had 9 targets and a touchdown. So if he's on some waivers out there, I'd grab Schultz. He has some great matchups coming up. Dawson Knox has been huge for the Bills, Dave. I mean, we already mentioned him last week, but dude, he's gonna be massive. And obviously Matthew Golden for the Packers. If he's out there on some waivers, grab him for the Watson injury. Evan Hull for the Neal injury. Wouldn't you agree that's Evan Hull, Dave? I think it's Evan Hull on the Saints.
I'd say either one, but that's really hard to tell there. But yeah, it might be Evan Hull. Or they were saying Estamine too, that he got some carries as well. So it's hard to say. Another guy I forgot too is Malik Davis, actually, for the Javonte Williams. He actually had a touchdown in like 40, 50 yards this past week too. So another guy that I forgot to add in there was Malik Davis.
Yeah, I know. And Javonte Williams was out for a good quarter, it felt like, and he came back in, thank God for me, but I was worried about him. Dare Ogumbawale from the Marks injury also, Dave. I think he's going to get more love as well. And like you said, Joe Johnson. Joe Jordan. I do think Marks is going to play, though. We'll see. Gardner Minshew is the biggest, as you mentioned already. Jalen Naylor, 2 touchdowns for the Vikes. Man, he's been really big lately.
What's that happened to Jefferson, man? I feel bad for all those people with Jefferson in the playoffs and the whole year. He's got been one of the bigger disappointments this year.
He's going to wring McCarthy's neck, man. Shit keeps up. He's like, I don't care if I'm double covered. Throw me the ball. Of course it's
exactly.
Of course it's working. Like whatever they're doing is working. So sorry, you got to sometimes take the double coverage out. Dalton Schultz had 9 targets and a touchdown. I already mentioned that actually. Isaiah Bond, sorry, he's getting a lot more targets now with the Cleveland. I think Shador likes him a little bit. Now Cleveland sucks, but there are going to be a few matchups coming up here that benefit them. So that's the waivers, and I agree with a lot of yours. Sleepers, non-targets trending up. So I think Jawar Jordan should be massive this week if Marks sits, but they're playing the Raiders. So here's the thing. I think Marks is going to kind of split time anyway, and I think Jawar Jordan is still going to just get a ton of time from the Raiders and smoke the Raiders, right? That's a great matchup. Wan'Dale Robinson should be big against the Vikings this week. Gardner Minshew, great matchup against Tennessee. I think this is one of those, instead of quitting, that I feel like the Chiefs are going to kind of be like, win one more big one easy, blow them out, show them who they're at, and then they'll suck. But right now, I think Gardner Minshew is a good streamer this week.
I think they have a chip on their shoulder for sure. Yeah, they don't like that they didn't make the playoffs, so I think they're gonna have a little chip on their shoulder the next couple of games. I think for sure.
At least this one, I think so too. Darnell Mooney at Arizona, what a great matchup that is. Throwing anybody against Arizona
all year though. He has all these great matches, but he never does anything. Then
he got a touchdown a week and a half ago. I know that he got one touchdown. But here's the thing: is what's his name still going to be out? You know, it's Drake London. So I don't know. That's a big question. And Dalton Schultz, as I mentioned, against the Raiders. Hell yeah, right? Jameson Williams against the Steelers is fine. Isaiah Bond doing big things in Cleveland against the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills have a good run defense, but their pass defense is weak. That was more of a choke on the Patriots side for being too conservative the whole second half. Wide receiver Jalen Naylor against the Giants is another great one, too. Juwan Jennings should be big against the Colts this week, Dave. Especially with Pearsall, he's kind of been hurt too. He hurt his knee. He's questionable this week. I don't know if I put Pearsall on there or not. I can't remember.
He had a nice game this past week, but if he is healthy, I definitely would plug him in there. But yeah, it's hard to tell. He's injury prone and he's on and off with injury, so who knows?
Yeah, he was one of my guys trending up. Baker Mayfield should be solid this week. I mean, after 10 days to think about the way they choked that loss away, I like him against the Panthers and Jalen Coker against the Bucks. Coker's been pretty good. He got a touchdown this week. I liked his touchdown. It was pretty hot. Tua, they're playing the Bengals, so he's got a good matchup this week. This Steelers matchup is freaking awful for him, but I think Tua's going to have a big day. Wow, Rodgers cried for a flag, and they threw it after the fact after he cried. Looks like that still works for that.
Surprise, surprise.
Some of that Packer love still runs through those officials' bloodlines. Now we got to ask Dave who you have for your sleepers and non-stars trending up.
All right. A lot of the same ones that you had. I like the Packers. I like Golden and I like Wicks this week against the Bears. I think with Watson out, they're going to get more targets and more looks. So I like both of those guys to step up this week. And Jaden Reed. I like Jaden Reed better than Wicks. Wicks dropped a big ball last week that he should have had. So I'm going to say Jaden Reed and Golden for
I agree.
The Packers. Don't like that matchups.
I agree.
So I like that matchup there. I do like Caleb Williams actually this week, against the Packers with Micah out. Our pass rush thing is going to suffer a little bit. I think Caleb could have a good game. He looked more efficient this past week as well with completions too. So I know he usually has the worst completion percentage in the league, but he looked better, actually a lot better with throwing the ball this past week. So I like him as a sleeper this week too, even against the good Packers D, even without Micah, but definitely without Micah, I like him this week.
There's a stat on Caleb. He's only thrown 12 interceptions in like 1,000 attempts. It's the lowest out of any rookie in like ever. And like you got to really, it's such an underrated part of his ball. And it's my good of 2 points usually in leagues for interceptions. That's one really good thing about Caleb.
Yeah. Oh, Jordan Love too. Jordan Love doesn't throw many picks either.
No, he doesn't.
He hasn't thrown a pick.
Well, that's clear. But Williams is more that borderline guy. Love's definitely a starter.
Yeah. So and then I like some of the guys you said too. I like this Coker. I like Hubbard actually this week against the Panthers too. Hubbard struggled a little bit this past week, but I like him and Coker. I agree with you on the Coker pick. And I think Chris Godwin, he's been kind of non-existent since he came back. I think he could have a big week this week. And Julian McMillan too. He's actually back, so he's actually healthy now. He's been out almost all year, so keep an eye on him. He could be a nice deep sleeper actually in that game as well. I like Mayfield as well too in that game. I do like the Browns. I like Isaiah Bond. I like Shadir Sanders too. Like you said, the Bills' pass defense is just horrendous. They usually go 20, 30 points a game. So it's just their defense is not good. Their secondary is not good. But yeah, I don't like Junkins though this week against the Bills. So we'll get into that in a minute. But I like Ray Davis actually then too against the Browns. I think they could get up and they might have to run the ball a little bit too. So Ray Davis could be a deep sleeper. He actually looked pretty good too last week when they limited carries. I like Hampton this week against the Cowboys. Their rush D is one of the worst in the league. So I think I like Hampton or Vidal, whoever gets the most carries. I think Hampton's slowly working his way back, but they've been kind of splitting that backfield though, so it's kind of hard to tell there. But I do like the running backs this week against that poor Cowboys defense. I like Tyler Sogue against the Jets. I think he could have a good week. He's been playing well this year. The last 3-4 games, he's actually played well. I like the Naylor pick. I know what's going on with Jefferson, but yeah, Naylor's actually been looking better and better. McCarthy's looking his way more and more. So I like that matchup. I like Wendell Robinson too, actually, this week. I like Jackson Dart. I think that Dart actually looked good last week, coming back from injury after he was injured for a couple weeks there with a concussion. So I like him this week. I like Minshew. I think Minshew has a good matchup against the Titans, like you said, as well. I like Tua too against that poor Bengals D. Their pass D and secondary is horrible as well. They have one of the worst defenses in the league. So definitely like him as well. And then I like the Falcons this week. I like Cousins against the Cardinals D. Cardinals D is just horrendous. They got one of the linebackers got hurt this week too as well, Cody Simon, the rookie. So I think their defense definitely has struggled the last couple of weeks. They've been just walloped by some of the teams this past week. But then I like Brissett though at the same time for fantasy purposes because they're going to be coming from behind. So and the Falcons defense hasn't been playing well either. So that'd be a juicy fantasy matchup actually. So definitely like those guys. Troy Flanken, I like him. I think he could have a good week against the Jaguars. Even though the Jaguars have a tough D, they might be double teaming Sutton. So I like Franklin this week. And I do like the Texans this week. I like Higgins and Noel against the poor Raiders D as well. And the running backs I like there too. I like Jordan too, or Marks, whoever's starting for them.
Dave always has a lot to like, Dave. So what about Bus?
All right. Well, I don't like Lamar this week against the Patriots. I think the Patriots are coming off a loss. They're going to be have something to play for now. They don't want to lose because they're only one game ahead of the Bills now. Lamar's actually been struggling this year. I think he struggles against the Patriots. I think the Patriots have a good D. I don't like that matchup. I don't like the matchup for Phillip Rivers. Oh man, Rivers, he looked pretty decent. He was talking a lot of trash too for a.
He looked all right. He threw a touchdown, man.
Yeah, he looked all right. But I think he'll struggle against the 49ers. Even though the 49ers are banged up on defense, they still have a nice young defense that's playing well. So I don't like that matchup for them. I don't like Aaron Rodgers against the Lions. You can see even he's struggling even against the Dolphins tonight. So I don't like that matchup for them. I think the Lions have a better D than most people think, but against the Steelers offense has struggled this year, so I don't like that matchup. I don't like the Jaguars. I don't like Trevor Lawrence. I'm a little sour about Trevor Lawrence anyways because I lost in 2 leagues because of that idiot. He had his career game of 6 touchdowns this week, and I lost in my league and one of my other dynasty leagues because of Trevor Lawrence. Has his best game of his entire life.
I wasn't playing you, was I? Was I playing you by chance?
No, I was playing Brad. I beat Brad. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence. No, I'm not a Trevor Lawrence fan now. I'm a little sour now after losing because of him in a couple leagues. So definitely downgrading him against the Broncos D. So I don't like that matchup. And then the other one, I don't like Cowboys. I don't like Javonte Williams or the run game against the Chargers. The Chargers have a good run D, so I don't like that matchup. And then I do not like the Commanders, any of the Commanders against the Eagles this week as well.
All right. Well, I don't like a few of those as well. George Pickens, I don't like against the Chargers, so we'll just go right back to that. I understand your Javonte Williams too, but the Chargers are even a little bit better against the pass than they are the run, believe it or not. Travis Etienne. Yeah, it's funny. Etienne, Dave, has most of the back share with Tutenhurt, but I still think that Etienne is going to have a rough time against the Broncos because Etienne, the Broncos D is just that good. Trevor Lawrence against the Broncos too. I'm sorry, I got to bench Trevor Lawrence, man. I agree. Bo Nix against the Jaguars isn't that great either, though. I don't like either of them. I might bet the under in that game. Brock Bowers at the Texans isn't amazing either. Ooh, DK just got a touchdown from Aaron Rodgers. Man, Rodgers having a great game. Jesus, a lot of touchdowns. Now they're kind of coming alive against the horrible Dolphins. God,
yeah, as I said, they should.
I know. It's like every time the weather is super cold, it's not good for Tua, I guess. I always fall for that shit. Sam Darnold against the Rams is bad. I don't like Sam Darnold in big matchups. I like him beating up on small teams, children of the poor. I do not like Sam Darnold in this matchup. Drake May at Baltimore is kind of dangerous, so I don't like that either. It's funny. I think Caleb and Jordan Love are both going to have pretty solid games. I wouldn't say that any of them is going to be a bust this week. I kind of wrote Jordan Love.
I was looking at that one too. I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, I was going to put Love and Caleb maybe, but no, I think they'll be all right. So that's what I have for bust, Dave. How about our nasty sleeper? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm actually going with the hot hand from this last week. Actually, I'm going with C.J. Stroud against the poor Raiders defense. I like him, actually. A lot of people forgot about him this year. He's kind of struggled this year a little bit as well, but he had a breakout game last week, and I look for him to have another one this week against the Raiders. I like him this week against the poor Raiders D.
That's a great one because he isn't been a starter unless you're looking at the past 2 weeks. So that's a great one. I'm going to go with Chris Olave. Against the Jets. The Jets gave away all their secondary. They're shot. They're done. They're toast. They just fired Steve Wilkes. This Jets defense is just absolute horseshit, and they have no reason to try. Chris Olave, believe it or not, the Saints are still trying to win at home. I think Olave has a decent game here, and I'm taking Olave for my nasty sleeper. Anything we miss?
No, I like it. Yeah, I like Olave.
All right. My friends, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at The Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Have a great rest of your week and go get some winners.